Hey, what's up, you guys? It's Tommy here from Saleslucky.com, and today we're going to be talking about cold calling, or what I like to call is warm calling. So, just before we kick off, just to break down some of the terminology for you, if you guys aren't aware, there's really two methods of sailing. One is inbound, one is outbound. Now, all this means is inbound signifies that you've gotten leads from your website or something like that where somebody is interested in buying from you and they filled out a form on your website and they've given you their contact information. Now it's your turn to reach out to them and and sell them. So that's called an inbound lead. Outbound sales just means that uh, it wasn't a lead that's come in through that has expressed some sort of interest. Outbound just means that you're going out and you're hunting, you're finding prospects instead of them having found you. Okay, so to kick off today's discussion around cold calling and warm calling, I'll start off by explaining why I call it warm calling. So, as many of you might know, sales is so psychological. I mean, most of sales is psychology. And one of my mentors, Tony Robbins, what he likes to say is success is 80% psychology and 20% strategy. And this can't be any more evident in sales, okay? So that's why I like to pre-frame these calls as warm calls, because in my mind, warm calls sound much better than cold calls. I mean, we hear cold calls and it's something like it's like a cold shower. We don't want to get into it, right? So that's why I pre-frame my mind and call them warm calls. Because the truth is, if you have an understanding of who you're going to talk to, who you're going to be speaking to, what they care about, that's at the end of the day, that's a warm call anyway, right? You're warmed up to them. You have a general idea of what these people care about, and it's not like you have no idea who these people are. So it's just a mental pre-frame that I set for myself. Now we'll jump right into the mindset of doing warm or cold calls. Now, one key thing that you want to remember, actually two key things, is one, just being willing to fail. Especially for warm calls where you're calling somebody that you've never spoken to before. No matter how good you've gotten at this aspect of the sales process, I think it's important to keep in mind the willingness to fail, the willingness to try something, and willingness to fall flat on your face. And guess what? If you do that consistently, if you are willing to take action and risk that, you're gonna find a way to do it successfully. Uh, you're gonna find the right way. You're gonna be successful at it if you are just willing to stick through it long enough. Okay, that's one mindset to have, is just being willing to fail and take action. The other piece of it is understanding that nothing is personal. I think one of the main reasons why people get hung up on these calls is the fear of rejection. No one likes to be rejected, right? But you want to keep in mind that when somebody says no on an initial call, that's never personal. I mean, they don't know who you are. They don't know uh, they don't know about your personal relationships. They don't know the way you treat your friends, your family. They don't know your preferences, your personal preferences. They don't know your religious views or your political views. So it's never personal. It's not about you. If they say no to something that you've offered them on that call, it could be just because it wasn't a good fit. It could be they're having a bad mood that day. It could be because it's not the right timing for them, or you just didn't express your value proposition or your offer clearly enough to where they understood what you were talking about, or maybe you're not knowledgeable enough in this space yet for what you're selling. all of those things could be the reason why they said no, and it could be a host of other reasons. But the thing that you have to understand is that if they say no, it has no bearing on who you are as a person. Because I think a lot of people, when they start making cold calls, they give up after a certain number of tries and tell themselves that it's not for them because they think that they don't have what it takes. No, you do have what it takes. They do have what it takes. It's that they just need to go through this process of learning and adjusting and adapting their mindset, their pitch, and their understanding of the product of the market that they're selling into until things click and they start to see success. And that's true for, you know, everything that I've, done up to this point in my life. Um, so you have to understand that it's not personal. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that this isn't meant for you. All it means is that that person might not have been the right fit for your product, or you need to get better. And that doesn't have anything to do with you as a person, but your skill set. And you can change your skill set. You can't change, yourself, like, intrinsically. So just don't take it personally. And that's what I mean when I say that. Okay. Now the other things I wanted to go over with you guys today was the concept of relevance. So I touched on this briefly. It's it's incredibly important to be relevant, especially on that initial call. I think a lot of times when people get into cold calling, they expect to make a certain number of dials, and it's like make 100 dials a day, and um, and see what hits, see what lands right out of those 100 dials. Well, I want you to understand that our world has become so noisy with the internet, advertisements, people bombarded with notifications on their phones, not to mention calls on their cell phones or land office lines at work, that there's just a lot of noise in this world. So if you want to be effective in getting a hold of somebody on the phone where they didn't expect your phone call and convince them to take a follow-up meeting with you, or uh, make a purchase with you on that spot, or uh, if you're trying to influence them to do something, you have to be relevant to what they care about, okay? What I mean by this is, if you were selling fishing rods, you would want to call on people that were interested in fishing, right? You would want to call on people that were either subscribed to a fishing magazine or a fishing blog, or they're active fishermen, or fisherwomen. Um, it wouldn't make sense to go into it wouldn't make sense to pull up your Yellow Pages book, or start knocking on doors to down your neighborhood to start selling fishing gear, because that's not going to be relevant to most people. Most people won't care about that. That's the same concept. So when you start making cold calls, when you start dialing, instead of just dialing a list of 100 numbers and seeing what sticks, you want to be relevant to who you're targeting. So for example, if I'm selling IT services, or a SaaS product, I want to understand who is going to be the person that's going to be using my end product, and who's going to be, what customer profile is going to get the most benefit out of my product or service, and then targeting that person. Okay, so the more relevant you can be, the more effective this is going to be. I'll give you another example. Say, for example, you decided to call me on my cell phone and it was a cold call. Well, what would get my attention? Me being a single guy in my late 20s, here are the things I'm interested in: beautiful women, uh, fun, you know, good times, fun times, reggaeton music, hip hop music, and business entrepreneurship and making money, right? So those are the things that would get my attention. Now, if somebody gave me a cold call and said, "Hey, Tommy, this is Bob calling from blah.com. Reason I was calling is because I know that uh, you know you love beautiful women, and there's going to be a reggaeton festival in your area uh, in an upcoming week. There's going to be a lot of single ladies there. They're going to be playing all the top artists from the reggaeton genre. Would you be interested in going?" What do you think I'm going to say? Hell yeah, right? So it's the same idea. If I'm calling on you, I want to be relevant to what you already care about. Now, something Tony Robbins says is, to influence somebody, you must already know what influences them. This is the same idea. So you want to be relevant when calling somebody, okay? So I think I've gotten that point across. And then some of the other points here with regards to mindset is just persistence. It really is true. I've really seen people who, when they started out in sales, they really didn't really know a thing, myself included. And just by sticking with it and going through those growing pains of, okay, well, that pitch didn't work, or that pitch worked for that person but not for this person. Why is that? And just taking it step by step, I've seen people, again, myself included, who started without really a whole lot of skill or experience, develop into, um, some pretty decent salespeople. So, I thoroughly believe that anyone can get proficient at sales if they put in the work to do it. Now, it is going to be hard, and it is going to test you, but the rewards are well worth it. Okay, so being persistent. One thing I like to say is, persistence makes kings out of men. Okay, so what that means is, again, I've just seen people who, out of sheer persistence, were able to see success and develop the mindset and the confidence that they've wanted for a long time. Um, I my one of my main jobs out of college was, I sold B2B market research services to procurement professionals, and these guys are the people who buy the products and services within large organizations. Let's say Nike has a procurement department. That department buys all the products and services that the company needs to operate, right? So they're professional negotiators. These are the kinds of people that we're selling to. And I remember seeing, you know, a, a guy who started with me in that company. Both of us were the youngest hires at the time. And over the span of 3-4 years, I saw myself and my colleague go from two of the, not only the youngest but the least experienced when it came to the number of years in sales that we had, to being two of the top reps in the entire company. And I believe that a, a core aspect of that really was because we just stayed persistent, we stayed dedicated, and paid the price of failing over and over again, and adjusting and learning skills in that process. Okay, and then the final thing that I'll mention with regards to warm calling or cold calling is that you must believe in the product and yourself. So I think, again, these are two incredibly important factors when it comes to making cold calls. One, you have to believe in the product. So what I mean is, if this is a product that you would not use or you don't support, that's going to come through, and that's going to show when you're talking to customers, because people can sense and feel how you are, what you believe. And I do thoroughly believe that sales is a transfer of enthusiasm. So if you're not able to believe in that product yourself, well, your customers and your prospects are sure as hell going to feel that. And they're not going to buy. They're not going to believe it either because they can feel that you don't believe in it. You know what I mean? The other aspect is you got to believe in yourself. You want to believe in yourself. You want to need to believe that you have what it takes, and because you do have what it takes. A great way to develop that self belief um, is, well, one, just doing the work over time. Like I said, be persistent because you will see success, and you will be more successful the longer you stay with it and longer you do it. Okay, it's inevitable. The second aspect is reading and studying people, biographies, personal development, business books of other people who've developed skill sets in sales and business where there wasn't any beforehand. Okay, so, and reading about inspiring people will help you create more self-belief. So, those are some of the things that I would just want to share with you on this video. Go ahead and feel free to read the rest of the article here, and let me know of any thoughts, any feedback you have, and anything else you would like to see. And certainly look forward to helping you guys out more. All right, see ya.